And
So the question begs, who do they plan on putting into these camps they're building? And why are they building them?
well, it sure did hit a nerve because, like you mentioned, that show was just disappeared.
Oh yeah, it aired one time and then disappeared off the face of the earth. So somebody in some high place got to somebody and used some power there.
Really a great collection of documents to bring people up to speed on just a sinister outcome. And you used the word Nazi quite a few times, but like you mentioned, if you didn't know the cover, if you didn't know the country that you're talking about, you might say, well, what country is this? Because
as I said, you could substitute Nazi Germany into this book, and everyone would expect what you get. But when you substitute what you put the reality, this is the United States of America, I think it is very shocking. And we need to get knocked off our high egomaniac horses here and start realizing that our government is not necessarily good. And that the people in our government, that there can be evil people in there that do very bad things. And we got to quit covering up for it, and we got to start putting some people in jail to set an example, in my opinion. And I don't mean putting dissidents in jail. I mean putting the people in the government that do the stuff that these documents say were done.
Right.
Yet none of them go to jail. That's the interesting thing about all this stuff. Nobody's held accountable. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It's just like Fletcher Prouty's book, The Secret Team, where he talks about these upper-level people in government that are there all the time and they run certain departments and they can do anything they want because by the time the elected officials learn about it, it's already in play, it's already happening, and there's nothing they can do but go along with it. And that's how they get away with it. We have to stop that. We have to find a way to end that type of governing.
Yeah, and like you mentioned Wall Street earlier, Wall Street and 9/11, no one held accountable, no one fired.
And in the Wall Street case, nobody going to jail.
Yeah, at all.
Not one person on Wall Street hardly is going to jail of the upper echelon. And that was all done. I mean, when you get into Wall Street, you realize that was a total planned operation right there of what they were selling. They knew they were playing both sides of the street. They were selling mortgages that they knew would fail and then buying insurance on the other side to make money off the failures. So these big shots at Goldman Sachs were in a win-win situation no matter what happened, and they set it up that way. And then, it goes on from there. I mean, if you look at it, take a look. Why it doesn't matter whether you elect a Democrat or Republican is a perfect example right there. I think for the last 25 or 30 years now or more, every one of our secretaries of Treasury has come out of Goldman Sachs. And it doesn't matter what party is the president. They pick a Treasury secretary who used to head Goldman Sachs or work for them.
You made a great episode on your TV show regarding that, and when you look into it, these things just don't seem to be possible. The amount of money siphoned out of the American economy with no one held to blame, everyone footing the bill to recover, it really is staggering.
Oh yeah, like I said, I did this book with mixed emotions, but I just felt it needed to go out there, and the timing was perfect because Dick and I started working on the book. And then a month or two later, the whole WikiLeaks things happened. And we thought, oh boy, this is going to be great for our book because this is covering the exact thing the book's about. And we actually were doing the book before WikiLeaks happened. And so then we incorporated some of the WikiLeaks stuff into the book.
Yeah, right. And you have the documents. You have the original documents right here in the book. You have the document, and then you have it actually transcribed, and then a commentary about, what this means per document.
Right. And people need to understand that in this book, this is nothing that I'm making up. This is not Jesse Ventura's imagination. This is a book based completely on 63 government documents that are out there. Anyone can find them. They're not secret anymore. We didn't break any laws. They can't come and arrest me or anything like that for revealing anything because all these documents are out there. It's just that our mainstream media won't dig into it. They won't expose this stuff. and it gets covered up and just lost in the shuffle. And all we did was reshuffle the cards and expose some documents that to me are pretty mind-boggling.
Now, you seem to be a rare individual speaking out because you mentioned the media. There's no one in the media really digging into anything like this. There's no major network that's doing any effort. I mean, you could have come across hundreds of documents. I mean, for this book, you've called it 63, but every one leads to more and more along the same thing. At the end of the book, you have web pages that people can go to dig up more because they're out there.
Oh, they're out there, absolutely. And believe me, the status quo, the power brokers, they don't want you reading these things. They want you going along with your normal life, living your life, watch TV. Also remember, our mainstream media right now is so controlled, there's only about 3 sources. It's corporates in control of it. And so that's where it comes down from on high. And that's bad. The less media that you have that isn't controlled by the same power structure is dangerous for that to happen, and that's the situation we're in today, is that the media, it doesn't matter what station it is or what network it is or whatever, you have to climb that corporate ladder to see who owns it. And then you'll find out that all the media is owned by about 3 people, Rupert Murdoch, and I forget who the other 2 entities are, but they literally control everything that the people of America, of the United States, will read and see on television. And so by simply controlling the media, you can control the population on what they learn, understand, and what's relevant to them. And that's an easy way to get away with all the crap that they do.
Well, you're speaking from first-hand knowledge, as one of your shows was just pulled and then disappeared, for lack of a better word. There's no more reference to it. Like you said, It's as if it never happened.
Yep, it's like we didn't do the show. You can't even see it on all the listings of the shows that we did. That one's gone now. It's called, the show originally was, Are We Being Moved Into a Police State?
Right, I think some people can find it on YouTube, something like that.
Oh yeah, it aired once, so the show will be out there. You just got to dig for it a little bit.
Obviously must have done a lot of work in pulling some of these documents out. And do you have an opinion of the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA? Is it working? Do you feel that Americans can get these documents?
Well, yes and no. It technically works, but you have to get the government to respond to it timely. See, they'll drag their feet, they'll do all sorts of delaying tactics constantly to avoid. You know, and like when Obama got in as president, he wanted more of an open government, and he said, no, we're going to respond to these things. Well, just like many things, just like when Jack Kennedy said he was going to pull the first 1,000 troops out of Vietnam, it all got caught up in the bureaucratic stuff, and nobody actually acted on it. And that's what's going on here. A couple of government agencies have done very well in responding to freedom of information, but the big power ones, the ones where you want the information from, they're dragging their feet and providing no more information today than what they did 10 years ago. And really, who do you appeal to? Who can you go to? That's what makes it so difficult, because they're in charge and they get to make up the rules too.
Yeah, I think you cite in your in the book 90% of these agencies are failing on their mandate to release documents.
Oh yeah, all they got to do is just drag their feet. Don't get around to it for 6 months. Requests come in, oh well, we'll get to them next year. Well, pretty soon the requests stop coming in because people feel, well, I'm not going to get the information anyway. And it's the old classic, if we ignore it, it'll go away. And that's what they thrive upon, that they'll ignore it, and then hopefully the person that requests the information eventually will go away.
Well, I'm hoping in our lifetime that we will find some Freedom of Information documents regarding 9/11 and regarding an investigation of Building 7, that people will have found irrefutable evidence of a demolition, of a whole false flag operation.
You know what's interesting? I had a driver today that he told me he was in a foreign country overseas in Europe when 9/11 happened, and he said the reports over there were far different than the ones here.
How so?
He said, you learned a whole lot more over there, and he said clearly when I came back here, tremendous information was being withheld and not put out to the public. Isn't that interesting? I think that a lot of the world think that the American citizens are a bunch of buffoons.
Well, it's not that it's unwarranted because they keep electing, Cheney, Bush, and then complaining about the stuff that Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly, and they just seem to go on and on to complain, never have anyone suggest ways to go forward. The first time you get someone with an inkling like that, like Obama, as soon as he's in, the reins are pulled in, and it seems that every promise that he made that has had to be scaled back. I mean, what was the first one?
Without a doubt, to me, it looks like he was taken to the woodshed.
Yeah. I mean,
they let him run on the change everyone can believe in, but the minute he got in there hasn't been any change. What changes happened? We're now in 3 wars. That's the only change. We were in 2, now we're in 3.
I'm thinking of a little anecdote from a comedian named Bill Hicks that he says when the new president gets in, they pull him to a small room. There's about 10 people there. A guy in the back just says, "Roll the projector." They show a film of the JFK assassination from a different view that you've never seen before. They show the film, they stop it, and then they say to the guy, "Any questions?"
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe that's it. I'll tell you. I'll put it to you this way. If I run for president and I win, let's just say I do it, I'll let you know if that's true.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if they took me into a room and showed me that and said, "Any questions?"
All right. Governor, it's been a privilege to speak to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to
Len, thank you as always, and keep up the great work. Keep Black Ops Radio running, because we're not going to get any truth from mainstream media. I've learned that over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's because of the internet, and it's because of shows like yours that allow the truth to get out there and allow people to speak freely about what they know. And we're not going to get it from anywhere else, so you keep up the good work, too.
Thank you. And one last question. I'm not sure if you're able to comment, but I thought I'd ask, is there any news on your TSA lawsuit?
Nothing yet. I mean, we filed the suit in January, and you know what I found interesting? I don't talk a lot about it, but the suit, you can get it on the internet. I mean, it's self-explanatory. You can pull the whole lawsuit right up and read the whole complaint.
Right. Well, in a nutshell, you object to being...
what I found interesting was some of the talking heads I heard accused me of doing it for a publicity stunt. I found that very interesting, considering when I filed the lawsuit, I had been down in the far reaches of the Baja for 30 days. If I wanted publicity, wouldn't I be sitting up here at a TV station?
No, exactly. And I every time I tell people about your suit, they shake their head and they say, I agree with them. These scanners have got to stop. I don't need to be groped. And for instance, in your case, if you say, listen, I was a Navy SEAL, I was a governor, I'm a TV personality. If you don't have any kind of profiling, if you don't know me from somebody who just stepped off a plane in Beirut, then there's something wrong.
Well, and that begs the bigger question, Len, and here it is. Why is airport security done by the government? These are private sector businesses. Why don't they provide their own security? That way, okay, I live in Minnesota, and Delta just merged with Northwest, so 90% of my flights are with Delta Airlines. Well, then I could have a relationship with Delta to where they know Governor Ventura's no threat. When he comes out, shows his passport and gets his ticket, put him on the plane. We don't have to check him for nothing. But see, when they put the government in charge of it, then it's black and white, then everybody. But it's still arbitrary. When I acquired the title of governor and acquired the title originally as mayor, they started calling me the Honorable Jesse Ventura, because that's what you're called after you win an election. Why would you have to search an honorable man? See where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
If I'm honorable, then I pose no threat. Why would I be required to be searched? And see, in my case, what makes it even more difficult is the fact in 2008 I had hip surgery to where I've got the titanium steel in my body, so I could go through the metal detector naked, and it's going to ring me, which then subjects me to this further stuff. I think that's exploiting a disability.
Exactly.
Instead of accommodating it. I'm being exploited because of it. Anyway, Len, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again.
Very good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.